same thing. Like Friday, Sunday duels, I'd be like 11 over or 10 over after that Friday night. And I just did it so poorly, and I just worked it all off all the time and always refueled a little bit too much. I should have just stayed on a diet a little bit better, but it was just, I was so lean already. It was really hard for me to keep down.
And at the college level, do you have people that are working with you on that sort of stuff, or are you kind of left to your own devices to figure that out?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people and a lot of resources that will help you, but I think I was cutting too much to mentally listen to these guys. I think I was a little bit broken. I had my dad give me advice, and Tom, Ryan, and Lou Roselli give me advice, and we had a nutritionist, but I think it was on me. I had a hard time listening to doing the right things, and I wanted everybody to know how bad I was hurting, so I did things wrong and cut corners, and I still had some success, but there was just way too often where that was the battle the whole year.
So kind of a follow-up to what I was going to ask, do you feel it's more of a common sense thing than a lack of nutritional education that the wrestlers are getting? It's just that hard-headed wrestling philosophy and, I'll just put a garbage bag on and sweat this off, opposed to do it right all year round, eat right all year round, and not have to worry about that?
I think a lot of people know the formula, but I think everybody could have a refresher course. I think once you get to college, you kind of know your body and you know your system. And even if you're doing it a little bit poorly, if you take time to do it and you do it 6 weeks out and then hold it and do the right things all season, I think there's a ton of ways to do it and be healthy and be powerful. But if you're cutting too much, I don't think there's too much advice to give. So, I mean, there's a lot of resources once you get to college, but in high school, you do what your coach says, and a lot of times your coach has no idea what he's talking about. And a lot of times you do what your dad says, and your dad's one of these parents who cares a lot and who's really intense, but they have no idea what they're talking about. So, yeah, I hope there's some educational stuff coming out at some point. But right now, I would say just focus on making good choices for as long as time as you can.
And now you mentioned, year-round style of training with the NJRTC, that you guys are doing freestyle year-round. And are you having micro and macro cycles to kind of peak, or does that kind of fall in place as guys get through the Open or to Final X and make the team? How does all that work out?
Yeah, there's so many different moving parts to the NJRTC. We've got guys at CJ is at TCMJ, is at the College of New Jersey. Princeton has Nate Jackson and Bryce Meredith, and then Anthony Ashnault and Graff are over at Rutgers, and Downey's over at Rutgers. So there's a lot of different things moving and going along. So I'm just trying to stay flexible and figure out everybody's schedule, and we meet at least once a day and hopefully twice a day, but the morning is normally optional for especially for the guys who are on staff at Princeton and Rutgers. But then we definitely cycle for the big tournaments. Like, we train hard all year round, but we pick it up, I would say 5 weeks out, 6 weeks out, and go really hard until there's like a week and a half left, and then we taper off and let these guys kind of recover and get their bodies fresh and manage their weight, and then we get after it for things like the U.S. Open, World Team Trials, any overseas tournament that we're prepping for the World Championships, and then the biggest one and the most focused is the Worlds coming up.
Now, with the World Championships coming up, how much do you have control of your athletes training that are competing in that, and how much of their training is being programmed by the United States wrestling team?
I would say that we have control over the majority of it, but the Team USA has brought them out for camp 3 times, and we've been gone for overseas competition kind of in between there, with Downey being at the Pan Am Games and Graff and Nate going to Belarus. So, I mean, we're gone a lot, so it's kind of like it's kind of be flexible and have your own plan as an athlete. But I would say it's kind of split, really. We've just been so focused on so many things. There's so many moving parts and tournaments and camps that we have to go to that everybody kind of has their own plan, and I'm just trying to stay here and help as much as I can.
With Graff and Downey, this is their first world team, correct?
Yes.
What are the goals? What are the expectations? What's the mindset going into this World Championships?
Well, they're both new. They are the only two guys on the Team USA that aren't ranked in the world, and I think that's really just due to they haven't competed enough. I think they're both definitely prepared to be in medal matches, and I think that we're very, very prepared. I expect them to be in the medal match, but there's so many different curveballs that can happen. They could win. They could go 0-1. It's a very, very tough tournament, so we're prepared to take any draw, the toughest draw, and we're prepared to take the easy draw or whatever, and we're just going to scout these guys and be prepared for their different number one attacks, and hopefully we can keep staying strong and come home with 2 medals at 61 and 86, and I'm really excited.
Is Pat going to go into Worlds with his mullet?
I think so. I never know what that guy's doing. But, yeah, he's a wild guy, but he's been so awesome for us. He's been training really hard. He's been focused. He's been taking care of business on the mat and off the mat. And but he has to be something with him. He's got to be a little bit crazy. And if the mullet lets him be crazy, that's when he's focused. When there's chaos, he's focused. And that's right where I want him. So I hope he does bring the mullet.
Right on. We do too. He's a very seems like he's a very polarizing figure at his weight class right now, where I don't know if I've ever seen someone that has done his job to earn his spot on the team and not get any love. But there's definitely some people out there that are giving him some love, but there's definitely some haters out there. How does he handle all that stuff? Is he kind of let that roll off his back? I know he's from the mean streets of Baltimore. It's kind of similar to being, from Jersey. You got that tough guy attitude. Do you advise him to stay off of social media and avoid that sort of stuff, or does that kind of motivate him?
So we've been back and forth on this a lot, and it's his page, and he can do what he wants on it, but he also knows that he represents Princeton and Rutgers in the NJRTC, so he needs to not get fired up by these trolls that tweet at him that have 2 followers and no profile pic. And he's from Baltimore, and he's not used to people talking to him like that and him not saying something back. But as he's getting a little more famous, if you will, and a lot more people are starting to talk to him, he's starting to let it roll off, and he's starting to not care about it and not let it affect him. And he knows that he's doing a lot of things right. And like you said, he earned it. He earned this spot more than anybody, just as much as anybody could. It's unfortunate that we didn't get a chance to wrestle David Taylor, but I think we were prepared for him. And I think people they're sad that David's not on the team. Everybody loves DT, and so do I. And he's a great guy, but something happened. He got hurt, and he couldn't compete, and so be it. We won the trials, and we won. We showed up and made weight at Final X, and so I don't know what these people want from him. I think that they know that he likes to talk back to him, so I think that fuels the fire for all the trolls a little more. But yeah, it's been a back and forth battle with him and I about this stuff, but it's all in good fun, really. He doesn't really let it affect him.
Good. That's good to hear, because I know that on social media the trolls can come out and they can get pretty irritating and get under your skin pretty quickly. And I just had never seen anything like that where, yeah, he did everything he was supposed to do. It was out of his control. He had nothing to do with David Taylor's injury. That was on him. That happened at the grapple at the Garden and that sort of stuff. So I'm pulling for him. I hope he does amazing and goes out there and crushes it with or without his mullet. But I'm hoping he carries the mullet into Kazakhstan. Of
course, yeah. We call him the Dragon Hawk. I don't know what means, but he calls himself that, so we call him that. And so then all the trolls, he calls them hater hawks.
Well, and I also, I forget who it was, but someone said, have you ever met a hater that's doing better than you?
Right. That's exactly right. And that's kind of my point to him, that he doesn't need to give these guys the time of day. But he actually says that it makes him feel better when he comes back at him. So I'm like, hey, man, whatever makes you feel better, if you can still represent the NJRTC in a positive way, then go ahead, clap back out.
Yeah, right on.
Touching on how crazy Pat is, and you have all different kinds of characters. You got Bryce Meredith, you got Tyler Graff. How do you manage all the characters, and how does that work when they all come together?
Well, I think that's due to me being their sole coach. I only have 6 guys right now, and 6 is a couple more than I had all last year when we were really training. So that's not a lot of guys to focus on. So I stay in touch with these guys every day. We text and talk, and then I see them at 2 practices a day. So I really know these guys. So it doesn't really matter that Downey and Graff are polar opposites. I know both of these guys, and I really think I can tap into what they need in pretty much any specific moment. I know what Graff, his process at the World Championships, I already know what it's going to be. I know what Downey's is, and he likes crazy before, and Graff needs serenity. So I'll try and provide that for both guys at the same time, and they might not need to be around each other for the World Championships. But I think I can provide whatever makes them feel most comfortable, and I think that's why we're having success. And that goes through the whole year of training. A lot of guys are different when it comes to practice and what their body can handle and how hard they need to be pushed and what type of conditioning they need. And all of my guys are very different. And being able to tap into that and know what each guy needs at the same time is one reason why we're very successful and why we're jumping a lot of these other athletes that are trying to do the same thing that we are. And it's a lot easier for the freestyle guys because, like I said, I have 6. If I'm thinking about trying to do the same thing as a college coach, I don't know how I would do it or if I could do it well. But right now I have 6 guys, and I feel like I know them all pretty well, and I think I can tap into what they need to be at their peak performance.
And Bryce is pretty new, right? It was within the last month or 2?
Full time, yeah. He was with us for I would say a week every month or every other month, and same kind of deal I had. He said once he saw it, he knew that this was the place for him, and it just took him a minute to make the move, which is understandable. It's pretty difficult traveling across the country and moving across the country and leaving your old life behind. But when you have an opportunity to make yourself peak your potential as an athlete, a guy like Bryce is not going to let it slide by.
Yeah, I'd imagine New Jersey is a little bit of culture shock from a guy from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yeah,
well, he fits right in, man. Bryce he's a chameleon. He's a great guy. He works really hard, so he's loving it out here.
And are him and Tyler at the same weight, or are they different weight classes?
He's a 65-kilo guy, so next year we're going to have all 65 and all 86, when this year we have really five different weights covered. But next year, the Olympic year, we're kind of all stuck into the 65 and 86, which will be fun for training and great to watch them battle it out, but still a little kind of sucky that we go down to 6 weights.
Is there any talk of them going back up, adding more weights like they have for the World Championships?
At the Olympics?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know definitely through 2024 they're going to be 6, I think, because that was the deal when they got, how wrestling was on the block to get eliminated from the Olympics. We had 20 and 24 already set. I think that's what, I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think it's going to be 6 for a little bit. It's not the easiest thing to change through the Olympic Committee.
Yeah, that was a big bummer when they put that on the chopping block, and I was glad we were able to keep it on there, and even though we have a couple less weight classes, but it was kind of crazy to see that of all the things that are out there for the Summer Olympics, that was one of the ones that they were willing to we don't need this anymore.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, and it was almost kind of a long shot to get it back in once they put us on the chopping block like that, and then unfortunately, the